Good defensive play, and Leotard trying to battle. Yilmaz Orhan pops and misses on the far side. Comes out on the near side, and Donnie Ebert to Carl Rose. Rose fires, and it's pushed out of the crease area. And the captain, Mike Donnie Tobin. Kevin Killy in control for the Wichita Wings. 12:40 to play. First quarter, there is no score. Semifinal playoff game between the St. Louis Seamers and the Wichita Wings. The leading scorer, Andy Chapman, has it at left way. Trying to find on the near side is Jorgen Christensen. Christensen to Chapman. Chapman going in, but pushing off was called on Jorgen Christensen. And the ball will go back to the St. Louis Steamers. St. Louis here in the first quarter. They go from left to right towards Mike Dollar, the 23-year-old keeper at 5'9", 160 pounds. Sammy Bick pushes it up to Greg Villa. Villa, the big man, he fires with the left foot. But it's off to the left, and it comes out and is being settled down by Jorgen Christensen. Christensen to Chapman, up to George Lay to Dudak. Helmut Dudak loses it to Ty Keel at the midline to Tony Glavin. Glavin now in control, trying to push the ball over. Play.
Some marking very well, I thought, in the first couple of minutes of play so far by both clubs. Wichita getting perhaps a little bit more aggressive than the Steamers down around Slobo Ilievsky and perhaps creating some opportunities down there, of which the Steamers were lucky that they could ward them off. I think it's interesting that you mentioned Villa, because it's great to see a guy like that for the Steamers come out and really produce when he's been off and on all year long. They've needed that big man so bad.
Beautiful tackle on the far side by Steve Petcher, then he loses the ball. And referee Artie Wachner says, let's continue to play. The crowd not liking it, thinking that Petcher was stripped from behind. Wichita now has the ball crossing the St. Louis red line in control. Jorgen Christensen on the year, 52 assists. He was the only person other than Steve Jungle to lead in a single offensive category. Andy Chapman down there loses the ball to Steve Petcher on the far boards. Slobo Ilievsky roaming out a goal to make the play off to his left. But Wichita still in control along the boards on the far side. Back to Christensen. Christensen goes in to Chapman. Leotard to Chapman over the far side at right wing now. Wichita has the ball, and they're showing a good offense. Chapman fires, and it's knocked down by Slobo Ilievsky. Steve Petcher heading it back to Slobo. Slobo runs into a Wichita player. But Slobo's going to put the ball back in play. One touch it off to Tony Bellinger. Slobo now will pick the ball up and bring it out to the midfield third. This long pass out for Donnie Ebert is intercepted there by the wings. Kim Renfed. Renfed goes down low and a near board. Wichita spend most of their time here in the first quarter. Tobin finds Renfed, fires, and Slobo making this thing in his 96th consecutive game. He has never missed a game in 3 years in the Major Indoor Soccer League. Wichita putting the ball in play. George Leotard a shot, and Chapman is knocked down, and he finds the back of the net. And Wichita goes out to the lead over the St. Louis Steamers by a score of 1-0. 10:19 to play here in the first quarter. A big goal for the Wichita Wings.
Well, Brian Tinian had numerous chances to put that ball in the back of the net, Jim, and he finally managed to do it. Slobo Ilievsky doing everything he could to keep it out, but finally I think that Tinian just had that final opportunity to kick it right up over Slobo, and that indeed he did as he was standing right on top of him down in the goal mouth area. It was a legitimate goal for the Wichita Wings. Well, they're playing very aggressively.
They had indicated to us in the conversations with Keith Gehling and their captain, Kevin Keeley, that it was important that they get out to that lead, and then they like to play a control type of game. And certainly they have been the aggressor here in the first 5 minutes of this soccer game, MISL semifinal. Wichita on the goal by Brian Tinian. Tinian on the year had only 7 goals and 8 assists for 15 points. But he got the big first one here, and Wichita has the lead at 1-0. Seems to be the problem of who is going to take possession of the ball, and Artie Wachner now rules that the Wichita Wings will have possession. And Donnie Tobin will put the ball in play with an indirect free kick. Kick in from right in front of the St. Louis bench. She goes down to Lay. Lay loses the ball to Carl Rose and then regains Carl Rose with a nice tackle from behind. Lay pops it from left wing. Nothing there on the far side. Tobin trying to get control, but Slobo covers up. And the obstruction is called there against the Wichita Wings. Ty Keel with an indirect free kick deep in his own territory. St. Louis trailing 1-0. They go from left to right towards Mike Dollar, Greg Villa now along the boards on the near side is marked up by two wings into Tony Glavine. The Motorman is tackled off the ball and by Leotard. A good defensive play by Hank Leotard on Tony Glavine. Kevin Keeley, the captain of the Wichita Wings, bringing it up inside and being settled down by Tobin. Tobin loses the ball to Ty Keogh, and Keogh pushes up to Tony Glavine. Over the Wichita Red Wings, the Motorman fires and it's knocked away by Hank Leotard. And an obstruction called against tripping called against St. Louis' Tony Glavine. Wichita will put the ball in play with a kick in from deep in their own territory. They go from right to left towards Slova Yelievsky. 9:19 to play. First quarter, Wichita with the lead on the goal by Brian Tinian. Kevin Keeley pushing it through the midfield third. Lays it off for Donnie Tobin. Wichita now in their control game. They have the lead. They like to get out in front. You wouldn't think they would sit on the 1-0 lead. Here's Andy Chapman. His pass intercepted by Tony Bellinger up to Tony Glavine, and then Glavine loses it at the midline. Down low to Donnie Tobin. Here are the Wichita Wings in their orange uniforms. The ball loose to the far side. Tobin fires it around the boards, but Slova making the play just out in front of the crease area. Pushes it up to Ty Keogh. Here comes Keogh with Yilmaz Orhan running with the ball in the Wichita third. He fires, and Donner boxes it all out. It hits the far boards, and Tobin making the play. Kevin Keeley up to Tobin one time. So back to Chapman, all the way back to Kevin Keeley. Keeley's long pass for Chapman is headed away nicely by the captain of the Seamers, Steve Petcher. Obstruction is called against the Wichita Wings, and Ty Keogh will put the ball in play. Out of St. Louis third to the midfield third. Here comes Tony Bellinger trying to go in, and it's knocked away by Kevin Keeley. Good defensive play. Andy Chapman now, the leading scorer, has the ball, settling it down at the midfield third. Pushes it back to the defender, a right-footed effort down for Chapman. He's marked up by Tony Bellinger, the all-star defender. Here comes Chapman, and he fires, and Slovo is there, diving off to his right to cover up and making the play. Slova Yelievsky pushes it over to Steve Petcher. Petcher and Tony Bellinger, the defenders. Johnny Stremolo, the midfielder. Bellinger now has the ball coming out of his own red line. Diagonal pass for Stremolo back to Bellinger, right in front of the Wichita bench. Taking his time, dribbling through the midfield third. Down to Donnie Ebert. Ebert being marked off the ball. A good defensive play by Kim Rentfeld. And Dollar goes up to his own red line. Using the boards on the near side, Jorgen Christensen, who's marked off the ball nicely by Johnny Stremolo to Donnie Ebert. Ebert with the interception and a good tackle. Tackle off the ball by Elma Dudek. Dudek pushes it over. And Donnie Ebert is called for tripping. It's Wichita. They're the St. Louis Steamers. Have to be impressed with the effort by the Wings here before this big crowd at the Checker Dome. They got quite a gathering themselves, including their Crazy George, the drummer. Johnny Stremolo misses that far post, and on their side it's being settled down by Mike Powers, who's from University City. Steve Petcher fires it up. Donnie Ebert trying to fit it in. Yilmaz Orhan, his right-footed effort is knocked over to the left of Mike Dollar, the fine keeper for the Wichita Wings. St. Louis Steamer running away. Tony Glavine trying to go into Greg Villa right at the top of the box. He's marked off the ball, and then Chapman with a fine right-footed effort sends it all the way down off to our left to Slova Yelievsky. St. Louis back to retrieve. Sammy Bick goes up to Glavine. He is marked off the ball by Powers. Powers to Chapman. Chapman down low on the far side. The defender has marked up the ball. A good play by Sammy Bick. But Wichita now in control at the midfield third. Send it over to Dudek. Dudek. One time to Chapman. Dudek still over the St. Louis red line. Back to Chapman. They go back to Christensen. Christensen to Chapman. They lose the ball. And St. Louis has a break with Tony Glavine, the Motorman. Heels it back and nobody's there, but Tony goes back to retrieve it. But now Wichita has a break. Coming in, 2-on-1 break. A nice tackle by Greg Villa to Chapman. Unmarked at the left wing area. Top of the box on the right side, right wing. The Wichita Wings, Carl Rose loses the ball, and Slova Yelievsky dives back to his right to make the play. After the fine move by the Wichita player to go around the Pearl, Carl Rose. Ball loose in the Wichita third, but a hustling play by Kim Rentfeld sends it back to the midfield third, but there's where Tony Glavine is. Glavine goes down to Villa. Greg Villa for the St. Louis Steamers. Took too much time, and behind him, Jorgen Christensen comes up to make the play, and then Villa goes up over the back of Helmut Dudek to make the play, but he lost it. And Donnie Tobin has it. Pushes it over, one times it over. The midfield third. Wichita in control. We're down to 5:15 to play, first quarter. George Lay settling the ball down, the fine defender. Back to Kevin Keeley. He is the captain of the Wichita Wings. Going inside to Leotard. Leotard trying to head it back in on a break. Here comes Tobin, and a goal is scored, and it's 2-0. The goal by the captain of the Wichita Wings, Kevin Keeley. Ty Keel went sliding in the back of the net trying to stop it, but it crossed that line, and the Wichita Wings out in front of the St. Louis Steamers, 2-0. 5 minutes to play here in the first quarter. This is St. Louis Steamers soccer. Drew at the Checkerdome. Wichita now with the lead, 2-0. Just under 5 minutes to play. Ty Keel goes down low for Donnie Ebert. It's taken away by Wichita. Leotard down low on the far side for Keeley, who just scored another goal, and he's got another one. And it's 3-0. Kevin Keeley. He beat Yilmaz Orhan in that far corner, and Yilmaz had lost his shoe about 30 seconds before out in the midfield third. And I wonder if he had some problem, but he beat Slova Yelieski in the far corner. And Wichita leads the St. Louis Steamers here at the Checkerdome, 3-0. The captain of the Wichita Wings finds the back of the net for the second time here in the first quarter. It's 3-0 Wichita.
Well, I was going to tell you, Steamer fans at home, not to worry when it was 1-0 on Brian Tinian's goal, but if
he's 5'10", 168 pounds. His speed is a little misleading. It doesn't look like he would be a burner, let's say like an Ebert or a Glavin, but nonetheless, he can fly, and he certainly showed us with a beautiful dribbling exhibition on the far touchline, and in and beat Slova Yelievsky. And Wichita now with a lead of 3-0. 4:15 to play here in the first quarter. Wichita, they go from left to right. From right to left, that is, against Slova Yelievsky. The ball, Andy Chapman has tackled off the ball by Steve Petcher. Petcher sends it up to Donnie Ebert over on the near side for Yilmaz Orhan. To Tony Bellinger, the fine defender, sends it down. Mike Dollar right in front of the goal mouth area. Comes out and clears it out on the far side for Rentfeld. Rentfeld loses the ball to Tony Bellinger. Bellinger lost the shoe to Yilmaz Orhan. Yilmaz now dribbling at the top of the box. Fires trying to go down low to Donnie Ebert. He's tackled off the ball. Good play by Mike Powers. Powers to Chapman. Chapman at his own red line. Heels it back to Jorgen Christensen. Christensen to Kevin Keeley. Keeley to Rentfeld. The Wichita Wings in control, 3-0. St. Louis has fallen in just the trap. They had hoped to be able to get St. Louis before the big home red line off to our right. An indirect free kick for the St. Louis Steamers. Johnny Stremolo on along with Steve Petcher and Sammy Beck. Donnie Ebert and Yilmaz Orhan are down low for the Steamers. Steve Petcher with that indirect free kick. Hits it with the right foot, trying to go down low, and Dollar is there, covering up easily, and lays it off for Jorgen Christensen. To Dollar. To go back to Chapman, and Mike Dollar has it. St. Louis marking up a little tighter now. Those forwards are going to have to on the Wichita defenders down low. Andy Chapman using the boards on the far side. Steve Petcher is right there with Chapman, and Chapman wisely sends it back to Ahmet Dudek at the midfield third. Dudek lays it over for Leotard. Leotard now with a nice run through the midfield third. Lays it for Jorgen Christensen. 52 assists on the year. And as Nancy had mentioned, only 14 goals. But he knows where all his teammates are on the pitch. St. Louis now intercepting. Donnie Ebert has the ball. He fires, and Dollar boxes away. Trying to bring it out, Donnie Ebert. Back to Johnny Stremolo. St. Louis in the Wichita zone. Johnny Stremolo misses that far post. Yilmaz Orhan setting the ball down on the far side. Yilmaz down low, and Leotard is there right at the top of the hot box. Yilmaz using the boards on the near side to Johnny Stremolo. Yilmaz one time to Stremolo. Stremolo with a run along the boards on the near side. He's marked up by Leotard. And getting some help, Yilmaz fires from way out at right wing. Sammy Bick settling the ball down against the far side. St. Louis trying to get something going here Christensen with a good defensive play on Sammy Bick. Leotard comes out, and Sammy turns and fires. Johnny Ebert, a nice defensive play by Christensen, and it's up over the side. It'll be a kick-in for the Wichita Wings. Best flurry in the first quarter by the St. Louis Steamers, but I'll tell you, the Wichita Wings defense.
Right now, Jim, the flurry by the Steamers, particularly the Bick-Ebert situation, with Ebert standing right in front of the goal by Dowler, and Bick trying to feed to him, and it kind of hits behind Ebert. And so if they're not in the right place, it's just going to be one of those frustrating nights.
Tony Glavine with the ball at the Wichita red line to Villa. Villa loses the ball, and a good tackle by Hank Leotard. Lays it off to Donnie Tobin. Tobin goes all the way back to his keeper, Mike Dowler. Dowler pushes it out. Wichita on the run. George Lay with a good move going around Bellinger. George Lay at left wing, down off to our left, inside to Chapman. To George Lay, he fires, and Sloboyelievsky is there off to the right and sends it up on the run for Tony Glavine. It's too long, and Hank Leotard is there to mark up on Glavine. And Dowler retrieves the ball. We go from one keeper off to our left, Sloboyelievsky, all the way down to Mike Dowler. George Lay has the ball for the Wichita Wings, going up right to the midfield line for Cooley. Cooley has a couple of goals, the captain, and Wichita leading St. Louis 3-0. Tony Glavine now inside Wichita. He fires, and Dowler dives off to his left. Tony Bellinger probably rushing his shot just a bit. Beautiful header. Tony Bellinger intercepting the pass intended for Chapman. St. Louis in control of the midfield third. It's Carl Rose, less than a minute to play, first quarter. The Pearl goes over to far board, setting it up for Glavine. Glavine trying to go in for it. Inside the Villa. Villa back to Rose. And on the near side, it's Ty Keel, who muscles his way through, but Dowler is there to make the play. 30 seconds to play, first quarter. On a break is Kevin Keeley over both red lines over the air. Constitutes an offside penalty, and he'll bring it back to the Wichita red line, and an indirect free kick for the St. Louis Steamers. For the right-footed effort, down low on the far side for Ty Keel. He's marked up closely by Kevin Keeley, and it comes all the way back out nearly to the Wichita red line. Ty Keel takes it down to Villa. Villa's tackle off the ball by Leotard. Good play. Carl Rose. 14 seconds to play, first quarter. Keeley has it and is settling down in his own third. The captain, and an important man here. 2 goals in the first quarter. Up to the midfield third. Pushing off is called against the Wichita Wings. Only 2 seconds to play here in the first quarter. Ty Keel will put the ball in play on this direct free kick from his half of the midfield third. Ty Keel, right-footed effort, trying to go down low inside, and Mike Dowler's there to make the play. And there's
really going to be a boost to their team, because they sound even louder than the rest of the group in the Checkerdome during that first period. But the score is Wichita 3, St. Louis nothing. We'll see what the Steamers can get going in period 2.
And the St. Louis Steamers kick it off. They are the home team, and they kick off. Tony Bellinger up to Johnny Stremolo. St. Louis in the second quarter, trailing 3-0. They'll go from right to left towards Mike Dowler. Here comes defender Tony Bellinger pushing it in, and Mike Powers comes up to make the nice play, the U City native. The Wichita Wings have 2 St. Louis area products on their team. It's Mike Powers and Keith Gailing. Gailing from Granite City South, and Mike Powers to our left. And it's Johnny Stremolo to quarterback things for the St. Louis Steamers. Left-footed effort goes back to the Wichita red line. Steve Petcher, he hits it hard. It goes off the glass on the right side, and it's pushed all the way back to the midfield third. And a dangerous kick is called. Dangerous kick is called against the Wichita Wings to Donnie Ebert, and it's knocked off, and Mike Powers has it. Powers settling the ball down and loses the ball to Johnny Stremolo into Donnie Ebert. Ebert coming in, a nice tackle by Renfed. Took the ball away from Ebert. Christensen pushes it back to his keeper, Mike Dowler. And the Wichita Wings now trying to bring it up out of their own third. A nice tackle by John Stremolo. On the ball in play. Over the far side. He loses the ball, and Wichita has a 2-on-1 break. Here come the Wings. Jorgen Christensen laying it off for Chapman. Chapman on the left wing on the far side. Loses the ball to Steve Petcher. Uses the ball on the far side. And Tony Bellinger has it. Now trying to settle things down is Johnny Stremolo along the boards on the near side, right in front of the Wichita bench. It's headed back into the St. Louis third off to our right, and Steve Petcher heads it all the way back to his keeper, Sloboyelievsky, with the overhand right-hand toss, and there's nobody there in the midfield third but Kim Renfed for the Wichita Wings. Renfed settling it down in off to our left in his zone third. He pushes over on the far side for the defender, Leotard, with a run back to Lenford. Renfed crossing his own red line. This is the one thing that Pat McBride was concerned with, getting behind by a big score and then ending up playing the Wichita game, which is a very much controlled type of game. Renford has the ball at the midfield third, trying to go up the Powers. They lose the ball at the midfield third, and Romero has it for St. Louis. Emilio Romero now crosses the Wichita red line at right wing, trying to go around Dudek on the far side. Dudek now with a nice tackle, but an obstruction on the far side. Ty Keogh to put the ball in play for St. Louis, goes over the far side for Tony Bellinger. Bellinger nestles the ball down as it comes off the board. Bellinger now over the diagonal run. He pushes it, and Mike Dollar eases it right up over the crossbar and up to the crowd behind him. With a nice Ty Keogh looks as Emilio John goes through. Tony Glavin hits it. It goes off the glass, but there was a whistle. Artie Wachner. Ty Keogh tries to go in, and Hank Beatard. Tony Glavin is there trying to follow up with Sammy Bick, but a nice defensive play by Leotard pushes it all the way back out to the midline. Here come the Wichita Wings. George Lay setting the ball down right in front of his bench. He pushes it back to Leotard. Leotard going up to Tobin. Tobin now setting the ball down on the far side, loses it to Ty Keogh. Keogh pushes it down to Slobo Yelieski. One times it up to Sammy Bick, and here come the St. Louis Steamers. Sammy Bick now with a diagonal run through the midfield third to Tony Glavin. Glavin now, we're coming back from near boards to far boards. He fires, and Dollar just got a hand on it and eased it over on the far side. Kevin Cooley pushes it all the way up to Jimmy Ryan. Jimmy Ryan with his right hand all taped up and some taped on the left foot. Sends it back to the midfield third. Wichita leading St. Louis 3-0. We're down to 12:10 to play first half. Jimmy Ryan, fine midfielder. Going up to Tobin. Tobin loses the ball at the top of the hot box to Tony Glavin for the St. Louis Steamers. He goes down low for Emilio John. It's too long, and Leotard keeps it for the Wichita Wings. He goes up to Donnie Tobin. Here comes Tobin over the St. Louis red line, sending the ball down at the top of the box. Lays it off for Kevin Cooley, the captain, who has a couple of goals, to Jimmy Ryan. Ryan now has the ball, trying to go to Cooley. A give and go. Ryan has it now at left wing over the far side, marked up by Carl Rose. Ryan taking his time at left wing, trying to go around the boards on the near side. Sammy Bick is there and pushes it all the way back out, nearly to the red line. Kevin Cooley now setting the ball down, dribbling. He's got a powerful left-footed shot. You have to watch it. He's got the back of the net a couple of times here in the first quarter. Wichita, the St. Louis fans not liking their slow and deliberate style of play. A nice play by Sammy Bick. He tackled it away from Tobin up to Emilio John. Emilio now is marked up by a couple of players, and a beautiful dribbling job by Emilio John E.J. Lays it off to Tony Glavin. Glavin coming up at right wing. He fires and just missed at the far post. And the ball circles around. And Johnny Stremolo and Sammy Bick can't get control, but Emilio John is there. St. Louis still in control. Emilio John back to Stremolo at the Wichita red line. Johnny Stremolo to give and go with the motorman. Glavin to Johnny Stremolo using the boards trying to set up Emilio John. He's right there, right at the top of the box. But Dollar is there, the keeper, and sends it out with a looping right-handed toss out to Elmer Dudek. 10 minutes and 30 seconds to play here in the first half. A nice flurry. Emilio John with a beautiful dribbling in the midfield third. Tony Glavin's had a couple of pops here in the second quarter, but to no avail. Johnny Tobin sending the ball down at his own red line. Wichita up to Cooley. Cooley with a soft right-footed kick that goes over the top of Steve Petcher. And an obstruction is called there.
To have something, namely a goal, to get them going and get them fired up. All I hear are the Wichita Wing fans over to our left of the broadcast booth. The
Crazy
fans
George
are very quiet right now, and I think they need to get screaming so that the Steamers will really get pumped up.
Bellinger brought back to the St. Louis red. And the midfield line is where the red line is in hockey. Wichita putting the ball in play with an indirect free kick of the St. Louis red line off to our right. Wichita in control of the ball in the game. Back to Jorgen Christensen. Off in his half of the midfield third up to Andy Chapman. Chapman back to Christensen. Christensen lets it go through. Back to Kevin Cooley. Cooley to Hank Leotard. He's trying to go around Johnny Stremolo. Does so. Down low and a give and go. Andy Chapman has the back of the net. A beautiful give and go. Leotard and Chapman and Kevin Cooley. And Chapman has the back. And it's 4-0. Wichita with the lead over the St. Louis Steamers. 9:51 to play here in the first half.
Well, I'll tell you, he faked out Slobo on that one. Slobo committed himself, came out of the net, And there's nothing against a roaming goalkeeper, but you got to know what you're doing back there. And Chapman outsmarted Slobo and put that ball in without anybody standing around to protect that net. But the other unfortunate thing about it was that perhaps there should have been a couple of steamers in there when Slobo came out of the net a little bit. You got to have your defense back there when the goalkeeper comes out of that net, and the steamers didn't have it. 4-0 Wichita.
Sammy Bick with the ball, trying to send it down low, and a Wichita third. Donnie Ebert has it, and he knocks Dollar down and stuns him practically. And Jorgen Christensen in control for the Wichita Wings. The Powers using the boards right in front of the Wichita bench, all the way down into the St. Louis third off to our right. And Petra's back. Quickly sends it up to Sammy Bick. Bick dribbling through the midfield third. Sammy Bick. And the tackle down from behind. And referee Artie Wachner comes over to explain to Sammy Bick why no penalty will be called. Pushing violation called on Helmut Dudek, and the Wichita Wings. St. Louis with a direct free kick. Ty Keel will do the honors for the St. Louis Steamers. The ball placed down by Wachner about 25 feet from the top of the hot box, just inside the Wichita red line. Ty hits it hard. That's knocked away and in to the crowd.
Leotard and Lay for Wichita, they're a super combination. And some of those other people like Helmut Dudek, they're all in there battling.
Romero and Ty Keel. Mike Dollar covering up. And Emilio Romero having some words with Hank Leotard. Jimmy Ryan trying to make the play at the midfield third, and Emilio Romero gets back, pushes it back to his own red line to Steve Petcher. Petcher inside his own red line with a nice pass, looping pass down to Donnie Ebert, but Leotard is there to make the play to Renfeld. Renfeld is tackled down by Ebert, and tripping is called against Ebert, and Wichita will put the ball in play. Deep in their own third, off to our left. They have the lead at 4-0. They led at 3-0 after the first 15 minutes and have increased their lead with a goal by Chapman. Out to the midfield third. It's Mike Powers. Back to Jimmy Ryan and over both red lines on the outlet pass from Wichita intended for Jimmy Ryan. It will be an indirect free kick for the St. Louis Steamers back at the Wichita red line. 8 minutes and 40 seconds to play, first half. Ty Keel goes inside for Emilio Romero right at the top of the box, and he has marked off the ball. Good play by Powers. Powers was the first draft pick ever for the Wichita Wings, the St. Louis native. Kim Renfeld stumping the ball down and inside. It's marked away by Ty Keel. Emilio Romero dribbling through, going through a couple of players, a couple of Wichita players. Now sends it off to Emilio John. Emilio Romero coming in. He misses. He had up the back of the net, but he pumped it off to the right. Emilio John. And Emilio Romero working quite a play, but Romero missed. Here comes Carl Rose. He fires, trying to hit Emilio John, crossing down low. Ty Keel trying to keep it in. The board's on the far side. Emilio John is over in that corner. Sends it back to Ty Keel. St. Louis working in a Wichita third. Ty Keel to Carl Rose. He fires inside for Romero. He nearly took it right in the chops. They go from left to right to Slobo Yelieski. Slobo standing off down to our right. Not much action here in the last couple of minutes other than the goal by Andy Chapman to give Wichita the lead at 4-0. 7:30 to play, first half. Jimmy Ryan in control. They love to work between those red lines. The ball pushed down into the Wichita third. But Jorgen Christensen is there, goes up to Ryan. He one-times it off, but Steve Petcher is there for St. Louis. Pushes up to Emilio John. Emilio John trying to give and go. He fires, and Dollar boxes it off to the left as he dives. Steve Petcher using the boards on the near side. Fires it, and it circles around the boards. Dollar pushes it off, and here come the Wichita Wings. Jorgen Christensen is met there right at the top of the box in deep in St. Louis territory by semifinals. Of course, New York won the first over Baltimore, 10-1. St. Louis, the home team, trailing 4-0. They have to get it on track.
I don't foresee that penalty situation staying that way, Jim. There have been too many words amongst the two teams already down in the corners. Some different tripping calls that have only been obstructions and haven't been penalties. I think we're going to see some before this game is out.
Artie Wachner, the referee, deciding to let him play tonight. Emilio John trying to go down low on the far side for Ty Keel. The ball is headed back to John. He comes through the midfield third. Now into the Wichita third off to our left. Over to Ty Keel. Keel goes back to Bellinger. Into Tony Glavin right at the top of the box. He fires and sends it up into the nickel seats. It'll be the ball up right at the top of the hot box, and he'll come out and hit it with the right foot. Comes out to the midfield third for Andy Chapman, who scored the fourth goal for the Wichita Wings. He's tackled off the ball. Good play by Carl Rose. Sends it back to Kevin Keeley. Keeley goes over to Donnie Tobin. Tobin on a give and go to Keeley. Keeley coming in. He's got a couple of goals. He's at left wing. Marked up by Bellinger, and he just missed it. Far post. The ball circles around. Leotard settling it down to Chapman. He loses the ball to Donnie Ebert. St. Louis has something going. Here comes Donnie Ebert, the MISL Rookie of the Year. But Leotard making a nice play. Hank Leotard on Donnie Ebert. Wichita showing that they can run with St. Louis here in the first half. We're down to 6:05 to play first half. And the Wings in control over the Steamers 4-0. They led it 3-0 after the first quarter. Chapman with the goal has increased that lead. And Chapman has the ball right at the top of the box. He goes down low inside. Tobin Slava with a sensational save. And a Lay follows up. Slava Yelieski made his finest save tonight. Lay keeping it in to Chapman. Chapman one times it off the boards in the lay, and Slobo dives off to his left to make the play and goes all the way out to the midfield third. Has Donnie Ebert. A nice play. Donnie Ebert with a foot trap. He's at right wing, and a Wichita third off to our left. Sends it back to Sammy Beck. The St. Louis All-Star defender now coming in at right wing. Using the boards as the sixth man is then tackle off the ball. Good play by Leotard. And pushing is called against Sammy. They like him. And Roy Turner encouraging his forces down on the bench in front of us. Mike Downer with the outlet pass out to the midfield third. Carl Rose is there to make the play.
For little Wichita Wings. And here we come to the big Checker Dome, and we're going to face all these red-hot teams like the Steamers. And, you know, the Steamers have been playing well up until this game here so far tonight. But I'll tell you, he's kind of in the background, and the players are just playing a super soccer game. Dowler's doing great. Slobo Yelieski is really helping the Steamers, but they need more than that.
Leotard has the ball in the St. Louis third. It goes down low on the near side. Jorgen Christensen trying to get control. It goes back to Leotard. Leotard over at the midfield line. The Wichita Wings taking their time. They're just knocking the ball around. And Ty Keel was there to make the tackle on Brian Tinian. The obstruction is called there, and Ty Keel plays it off for Steve Petcher. Petcher right in front of the Wichita bench. Puts the ball back in play, and it's up to Ty Keel. Keel to Yilmaz Orhad. Goes back to Tony Bellinger. Bellinger settling the ball down on the far side. Bobby Bazzato making his first appearance at the top of the box. Lays it off for Steve Petcher at left wing. And the Wichita third. But Kevin Keeley is there. Pushes it off the Dollar. In Wichita with the ball, and they go from left to right to Slobo towards Slobo Yelieski. The Wings with George Lay. And Hank Leotard bringing the ball up. Leotard inside to Keeley, but a good defensive play. A nice tackle by Steve Petcher. Took the ball away from Kevin Keeley. Steve fires with that left foot. Can't get control. And it's Lay now running with the ball through the midfield third. Sending it down to Brian Tinian. Tinian sending it back. All the way back to the midfield third. Wichita in no hurry. To Keeley. Keeley. Back to Leotard. Leotard with a right-footed effort is knocked away by Tony Bellinger. And it's really difficult to change the style of game like this. It's like when in basketball. When
I've never seen before tonight. I mean, they're playing like the New York Arrows out there. They've got every aspect of their game together. They've got the offense going, and the defense is doing a superb job. But the Steamers have had some opportunities, Jim. They haven't capitalized.
Nice play and a good tackle by Sammy Bick right at the top of the box in Wichita. Sends it up to Johnny Stremel, the midfielder, and losing the ball. 20 minutes of play tonight. Haven't really had a whole lot to clap about and cheer about for the St. Louis Steamers. They trail the visiting Wichita Wings in semifinal game number 2 here tonight. New York, in case you just joined the broadcast, they demolished Baltimore 10-1. Jungle had 4 goals for the winners. So New York will be trying to make it 3 in a row at 1 o'clock on Sunday afternoon, meeting the winner of this game. And as it stands right now, Yilmaz Orhad with a little move going around Mike Donner, and it's pushed out. Bobby Bazzato trying to settle the ball down for the St. Louis Steamers, and he loses the ball. Powers goes out to Chapman. Chapman at the midfield third and pushes it back. Yilmaz misses on a sliding tackle to Chapman. Johnny Stremolo really showing a great deal of hustle. Losing the ball over the far side, and they go back to their keeper, Mike Dollar, the Wichita Wings. Out to Hank Leotard. Leotard back to his keeper. And Mike Dollar doing an excellent job of directing traffic. Goes up to Jorgen Christensen. He fires and Redford. Kim Redford beats Slobo Yelieski at far post, and Wichita has the lead at 5-0. Well, that's the kind of play that makes the Wichita Wings, for their fans, a fun team to watch. Yeah, this Bud's for the offense, who just scored a goal and lead the St. Louis Steamers by a score of 5-0. So, hey, offense, for all you do, this Bud's for you.
Well, Jim, this was what we saw at halftime of the game just before this one. The New York Arrows leading the Baltimore Blast 5-0 at halftime, and it looks like that's what we may go into here, although we've got a couple more minutes of soccer to play, and hopefully the Steamers can break their scoring slump and get on the board, because they need to, and I'd say pretty darn soon, if they're going to jump into this ball game in the second half.
To kind of lull you to sleep and then let them fire like Kim Renfred just did. Renfred on the year had 28 goals, however, and 14 assists. St. Louis Steamers, Steve Petcher up to Tony Glavin. St. Louis needs a goal or two here before the end of the first half, and they got a couple of minutes to do it. Steve Petcher fans on a shot right in front of the goal mouth up to Ty Keogh, but an obstruction is called against St. Louis. St. Louis now, one of the things they'll have to do in the first half here tonight. Mike Dollar sending it out to the midfield line. To Powers. Mike Powers, the U-City native. Back to Leotard, to Renfred. Kim Renfred, who just scored the 5th goal. A couple of goals. Wichita led it 3-0 in the first quarter. And then goals by Chapman and Renfred here in the second quarter. And Wichita very much in control, 5-0. Tony Glavin losing the ball to Jorgen Christensen, and the Wings working in their own third. They're in no hurry. They have the lead. Kim Renfred coming across his own red line, sends it out a give and go to Andy Chapman, but Slobo Yelieski coming out a goal to make the play. Otherwise, Chapman would have had a break on Slobo. Tony Glavin along the near lines, inside to Ty Keogh. Greg Villa stepping on the ball. He's ready to fire, but a beautiful tackle on behalf of the crowd here at the Checker Dome, seeing their home team losing to Wichita 5-0. Inside, Orhan pumps it over. Romero pumps it over the end line. It'll be a goal kick for Mike Dollar. He would probably love to get at least one in before the halftime.
Oh, for sure. They've got to, though, Jim, they've perhaps got to get a little bit more aggressive themselves, but try not to be sloppy and incur penalties, because if they don't get a little bit fired up out there, Wichita's just controlling the game tremendously in the first half.
Beautiful game, and they're playing it just like that. Roy Turner probably put it on the blackboard for them. And the goals early by Tinian and a couple of by Cooley in the first quarter. Donnie Ebert fans on a shot, fires it around the boards on the far side. It circles around, and Hank Leotard in control. Sends it up to Jimmy Ryan, who was tackled off the ball by Carl Rose. Pushing off. St. Louis Steamers thought they could probably do is run past this club. Tobin pushing it up to Jimmy Ryan. It goes back to George Lay. Lay now at his own red line. In control, punches it up to Jimmy Ryan. It's too long, and Sobielievsky covers up, sends it up to Carl Rose. Under a minute to play here at the Checker Dome. Wichita leading St. Louis 5-0. Sobielievsky bringing it all out. He had a couple of assists on the year. Long kick down low for Emilio Romero. The right by Ryan just in front of the penalty box on the far side. 30 seconds to play first half. St. Louis with Sammy Beck and Carl Rose. Carl Rose taking his time, going for the top of the hot box, and he loses the ball. St. Louis has not been that sharp on passing. Nice pass, however, from Keogh. Goes inside, and the shot by Rose circles around the boards. St. Louis has not really had the good shots from their big guns, Ebert and Glavin and Villa. And Carl Rose cranks it up. It hit Romero in the back of the foot. Comes back out. Ty Keogh. He hit the back of the net. And a big goal by Ty Keogh. And St. Louis cuts that deficit to 5-1. But a real important goal. And the crowd comes alive. Just 6 seconds before halftime. And the 4-time All-American from St. Louis University, the St. Louis native, Ty Keogh. Here it is.
He had the assist on the Renfred goal. Dowler got the assist, the goalkeeper, which, as we know, is kind of unusual in this game. But here we go again, just a few seconds left.
Ryan back to Lay. Lay pops it down. Carl Rose hits it. There's the buzzer ending the first half with the score. And the midfielder is Tony Stromolo and Steve Petcher and Tony Bellinger on the defenders. Sloboyelievsky, the keeper. Patrick Bryant in the Steamers is off to our left. Mike Dollar is the keeper for Roy Turner and the Wichita Wings. He is off to our right. One thing we can note, in the 3 games that St. Louis and Wichita played during the regular season, in the second half, St. Louis outscored Wichita by a cumulative score of, they've doubled up the score at 14 goals, and Wichita had 7. But an interesting note also in the win for St. Louis at the Kansas Coliseum, St. Louis had a 6-1 lead at halftime. Tony Bellinger coming to the Wichita third, lays it off for Yilmaz Zorhan just at the top of the box, but Steve Petcher steps on the ball off to, and he fires with the right foot and sends it up into the nickel.
Second half, but as I mentioned late in the first half, they've got to push and shove a little bit because Wichita is really on tonight.
Wichita wings. Down low for Brian Tinian. Tinian coming in and he misses on an open net at the far side. Silva Yalieski came out to make a nice tackle on Tinian right at the top of the hot box. Johnny Strumolo, and Tinian fires and dismissed again. Steve Petcher uses the boards to send it out almost to his own red line to Ebert. Ebert using the boards on the far side, trying to go around Hank Leotard. And Leotard is called for a violation. St. Louis to put the ball in play with a kick in from the touchline bordering the far boards. Listening to Major Indoor Soccer League action on KMOX-FM in St. Louis. 14-10 to play, third quarter. Wichita with the lead at 5-1. Tony Bellinger now coming through the midfield third. Sends it over against the far boards to Yilmaz Zorhan. Yilmaz trying to get control. Bounces it a couple of times, comes all the way back to the midfield third. Yilmaz now with a run from far boards and near boards up for Donnie Ebert. Hank Leotard is right there with Donnie Ebert. Ebert, the leading scorer for the St. Louis Steamers, has not had many opportunities tonight. George LeMay with intercepting it, sending it back to Kevin Cooley. Cooley across the St. Louis red line off to our left. On the far side, settling it down is George Lay. George Lay now going down to Cooley at left wing. Down off to our left, using the boards on the far side, trying to set up Chapman in the middle. And Tobin hits Ty Keels, the midfielder, out to Greg Villa right at the midline, the forward. He works with Glavin. Villa has the ball, trying to go around inside to Tony Glavin at left wing. Dollar dives off to his right to make a nice save. Right in front of that missile logo, off to his right. The Wichita wings. Up to Andy Chapman in the midfield third. Now he goes back to his own third. His pass for Chapman on a one-touch for Helmut Dudek. Dudek goes back to Leotard to Chapman. Chapman comes up from the St. Louis third up to the midfield third, and now back into the St. Louis third at right wing. He's got plenty of space. Slobo Yalieski bounces it back to Carl Rose to Slobo, and Slobo goes up to Sammy Bick. Sammy Bick now with a run to the midfield third, and up from behind him is Chapman. Chapman is called for an obstruction, more shoulder than foot on that ball. Ty Keel to put the ball in play with an indirect free kick at the midline. Up to Greg Villa at left wing, off to our right. Greg Villa leading St. Louis in scoring to the first quarterfinal series with 7 points. Andy Chapman now coming down at the top of the box. Slobo Yalieski hits it, and Carl Rose makes a nice defensive play. Ty Keogh now settling the ball down, coming across with a nice pass to Sammy Bick. Sammy Bick into the Wichita third, off to our right. Sammy Bick trying to go around. Leotard is knocked down. No call played. Referee Artie Wachner says let him go. And Chapman pushes it across on the far side to Mike Powers. Mike Powers from University City and Mercy High School. Goes up to Andy Chapman in the St. Louis third, off to our right. Fakes left, goes right. Slobo dives off to his left, makes the play, boxes over to Kevin Cooley. Kevin Cooley leaves it for Leotard. Leotard goes back to Jorgen Christensen. Christensen's pass is intercepted at the St. Louis red line by Ty Keogh of the St. Louis team.
Gotten a heck of a lot of help.
Chapman at left wing is marked up by Carl Rose. Lays it off for Powers. Powers using the boards on the near side. Sends it around, but Slobo's there to make the save and goes out to the motorman, Tony Glavin. Tony Glavin, along with Steve Petcher, were elected to the first team MISL All-Star first team by the writers and broadcasters who cover the 12 major indoor soccer league clubs. Congratulations, Tony Glavin and to Steve Petcher. And Donnie Ebert from SIU Edwardsville and St. Louis was the MISL Rookie of the Year. Donnie Ebert had 65 points in the regular season, 46 goals, 19 assists. Tony Glavin was 64 points. He missed 8 games. He had 37 goals and 27 assists. Inside, Donnie Ebert with the ball in the far corner off to our right. He's being tackled off the ball by George Lay, and an obstruction at that touchline over in the far corner. He works with Johnny Stremolo and Tony Bellinger. Bellinger goes through, but the ball comes over to Steve Petcher. He hits it hard with the right foot, trying to set up Tony Bellinger right at the top of the hot box. The ball knocked loose, and Cooley bounces it out to Chapman. And Chapman comes up to Donnie Tobin. Tobin one time to be like the New York Arrows with Segota, Jungle, and Freddie Gagurov, but they certainly get the job done, and there's excellent passing. They play a well-controlled game. 10:54 to play, third quarter. They're trying to go in, spinning himself, and he is tackled off the ball by Hank Leotard, who goes to his keeper, Mike Dollar. And Dollar lays it off Steve Petcher with a nice tackle from behind on Chapman on the midfield line. And an obstruction was called there against the St. Louis Seamers, and George Lay will put the ball in play just off to the right of the Wichita bench down in front of us on the near touchline. Going up to Donnie Tobin. Tobin to Chapman. To Tinian. Over the far side, it's Donnie Tobin stepping in the ball. Left-footed kick down low for Kevin Cooley, who had 2 goals in the first quarter when Wichita jumped out to the lead over St. Louis at 3-0. George Lay now has the ball. They just work the hole they like to use at 200 by 85 down in that pitch. Tripping is called against Steve Petcher. He gets up and argues.
But he's saying, I'm just going to let him play and see what happens until it gets really bad. And so far, I think he's done a good job. I don't think there have been necessary penalties up to this point in the game.
Tony Bellinger with the indirect free kick from his own third sends it up on the run. Yilmaz Orhan in the Wichita third off to our right. Now he is trying to go around Leotard. Leotard makes the tackle, sends it up to Donnie Tobin. Tobin brings it out to the midfield third for Chapman. Loses it to Johnny Stremolo. Tinian was there, but Johnny Stremolo pushes it all the way back to Slobo. Slobo goes to Tony Bellinger, and St. Louis will try another flurry again. Here comes a good transition. Tony Bellinger trying to push it past Leotard on the far side. And then Leotard and Donnie Tobin make a nice play. Ty Keogh heads the ball away over on the far side for Yilmaz Orhan. St. Louis again with another flurry. You'll see a lot of offense by St. Louis here in the second half. They'll need it to get back in. Donnie Ebert right at the top.
Constantly been told by them they like to run with the ball and they like to keep the pace as swift as they can, and they have not been able to do that here tonight. It's been Wichita that's had the fast-paced, well-played game. The Seamers really need to put together their old game that they play for you all the time.
And this indirect free kick, about 2 feet off the touchline. Referee Artie Wachner says, Mr. Chapman, you have to give him 10 feet. So Rose goes to Ty Keogh. Keogh uses the boards on the far side with the left foot into Greg Villa. Villa is tackled off the ball. Good play. Helmut Dudek. Sammy Bick now settling it down at left wing for St. Louis. Over here near the near boards for Carl Rose on a give and go. Tony Glavin down to Rose. Rose is marked up on the near side by Chapman down there. Pushing off is called against Wichita. So St. Louis will still be in control in the Wichita third off to our right. Carl Rose, Tony Glavin, Greg Villa, Sammy Bick, Ty Keogh on for the St. Louis Seamers, who trail and need a goal to get back in it. 5-1. Carl Rose fakes it one way. Still is going to send that ball out, facing a 2-man line to Greg Villa. Villa goes inside to Glavin. It hit Glavin in the back and bounces out, but Dowda comes out to make the play. Carl Rose heads the inbounds pass for Jorgen Christensen away. Goes out to Tony Glavin. Glavin from Keogh to Sammy Bick down low. Greg Villa, it's a little long, and Chapman. Play by Carl Rose. Faked one way, goes to the other. Top of the hot box. Keogh to Villa. Villa inside, and Mike Dollar bounces it away. Tony Glavin keeping it in for the St. Louis Seamers. And a player is hurt for Wichita. And a no play, and Tony Glavin. And
have some more now. The thing is that whole opportunity with Villa and Glavin, and here's Villa, and he hits it in, and Glavin's standing right in front of the mouth of the goal, and he can't get it in. It hits him in the back. So what are you going to do? You know, the players just aren't in tune with each other right now.
Steve Petcher and Tony Bellinger taking the ball away from Wichita at the midline into Tony Bellinger. Bellinger trying to go along the far boards right around Helmut Dudek, and Bellinger is injured over the far side. And apparently that right thigh or right knee area seems 15 minutes in the win over Buffalo on Saturday night when he was injured and playing so hard. He just goes all out. 100% for 60 minutes. Johnny Stremolo to put the ball in play for St. Louis against the far boards on that touchline. Inside to Emilio Romero. It's pushed all the way back out to the midfield line where Steve Petcher is there for St. Louis. Trying to go around Chapman and for Romero. And Kim Romero was on his back and obstruction was called. Sammy Bick taking the ball away from Wichita at the midline. Emilio Romero trying to punch it past Dollar. Misses, and Jorgen Christensen is there. Pushes it back to Dollar, and Dollar goes out on the near side. Right in front of the Wichita bench, it's Andy Chapman. Chapman, who has a goal here tonight. Kevin Cooley, the captain, has a couple of goals. Helmut Dudek goes out to Chapman. Slobodielewski covers up at near post and goes out to Steve Petcher, the big captain of the St. Louis Seamers. That's 6 foot, 194. Score of 5-1. Wichita leading the St. Louis Seamers. To Emilio Romero trying to head it over the top of Dudek right at the top of the hot box, and nothing going for the St. Louis Seamers. And Wichita certainly in control. They have the 4-goal lead. No hurry. Jorgen Christensen goes back to his keeper off to our right. That's Mike Dollar. He has 5 seconds to get the ball out. He's using all of his time. Right-footed effort now On the run is Kim Renfed. Renfed at right wing, trying to go around Romero. He misses on the far post. And Sammy Beck quickly sends it up to Johnny Stremolo. Stremolo now goes through 2 Wichita wings, dribbling from near boards over to the far boards. Emilio Romero now with the ball with the St. Louis Steamers. Lays it off for Carl Rose. Lets it go through to Sammy Beck. Sammy Beck to Carl Rose on the near board. Circling around inside Donnie Ebert, but it's headed away with a nice defensive play by Jorgen Christensen. Carl Rose, excellent defense, and then Kevin Keeley tripped him, but no call is made. Johnny Stremolo back with the ball, pumps up against the glass. Carl Rose stops once, fires and misses on the far side. Kevin Keeley punches it up to Andy coming off the bench and taking a pass. Lay to Leotard. Back to Lay over the far boards with the ball is Hank Leotard. Doesn't look like he's very quick, but he's got the quick feet. Down low at the St. Louis red line is Brian Tinian. Tinian goes back to Donnie Tobin. To George Lay, to Leotard. And Wichita running their weave right between the red lines. That's 60 feet, and they're looking for space. As we look down on the pitch between the red lines, it just looks like an easy weave. Ty Keogh making a play for the St. Louis Steamers on the run of Emilio Romero, but George Lay is there, and so is Kevin Keeley. They go out to Donnie Tobin. Tobin has the ball. Quite a collision there between Ebert and Donnie Tobin. An official timeout.
Just a slight one, and might have been, perhaps they were looking, the Steamers certainly were looking for a penalty which put him in the box. It was actually between George Lay and Donnie Ebert, and they got tangled up down there, down in front of Mike Dowler, and the Steamers wanted a penalty, but they didn't get one.
Ty Keogh with a direct free kick, used to the boards on the near side, but comes all the way back out to the midline. There's Bobby Bizzata up to Keogh. Keogh trying to push it in. Making a play is Leotard. He took it away from Romero, and the ball is loose over the far side, but Donnie Tobin is there and pushes it up to Kevin Keeley. Keeley at his own red line. Lays it back to Hank Leotard. And they go over to Lay. Lay and Leotard. Up to Brian Tinian. They go to George Lay, and it's taken away by Bobby Bizzata at the midline to Carl Rose, to Ty Keogh. Keogh now settling the ball down for the St. Louis Steamers. 4 minutes and 40 seconds to play. Third quarter, Wichita with the lead at 5-1. Emilio Romero with a break. He pumps it, and Mike Dollar is there with a foot save and sends it right back out. Romero has it against the boards on the far side. He can pump. The Metro State College star from Denver sends it back to the far side to Steve Petcher. He loses the ball then to Donnie Tobin, and Tobin took it away from the captain of the Steamers, pushes it to Lay, back to Leotard. Up to Donnie Tobin, it's too long and goes all the way down to Slova Yelievsky, the keeper for the St. Louis Steamers. The St. Louis Steamer fans here at the Checker Dome tonight just really haven't had a whole lot to clap for, other than just 6 seconds before the end of the half. Ty Keogh found the back of the net. Greg Villa now in with Bobby Bizzata. Greg Villa left, and a handball is called against the captain, Kevin Keeley. Now with Johnny Stremolo and Bobby Bizzata, Greg Villa, and Steve Petcher. Tony Bellinger was injured a couple of minutes ago. We see him down in the box trying to get warm and possibly loosen up that leg. He took quite a shot against the far boards. His availability for the rest of this game is questionable. Tony Glavin pumps it against the glass of the far side. Coming in is Johnny Stremolo.
About getting them in a quarterfinal playoff. So we wind up with Buffalo, and now we have one game with the Wings, and it's trouble.
Jorgen Christensen to Chapman. Chapman one time set off the boards on the far side. Bobby from the St. Louis Steamers had some problems with injuries all year long, but nonetheless they were 25-15 during the regular season and Central Division champions. And they are here after having beaten Buffalo 2 games straight and winning that best-of-3 series, 2 games to none. The ball loose at the midfield third, and Bobby Bizzata hens it in over into the penalty area. And the battle with Andy Chapman, and Wichita will have the ball with a kick in from the touchline on the far side, right at the midline. Kevin Keeley goes to Chapman. Chapman down low and fires it right over Slobo's head, and it hit that crossbar. Dudak comes up from left wing, and Tony Glavin settling the ball down against the far boards. Chapman is there, and pushing is called against Chapman. St. Louis will put the ball in play with a kick in from the far touchline. We're down to 3:15 to play, third quarter. The Wings with that lead of 5-1. As we had mentioned, Ty Keogh scored for St. Louis with only 6 seconds to play in the first half, and I'm sure most of the Steamer fans and Pat McBride was hoping that might carry St. Louis into this third quarter. Maybe they'd be able to find the back a couple of times, but the score remains at 5-1. And here comes a break. Jorgen Christensen, he fires and just misses on the far post. A tough break for the Wings. Otherwise, it would have been 6-1. All the way back to the midline. That's Greg Villa. Bobby Bazada down low, far corner, trying to go to Glavin. Glavin setting up Bazada. Bazada misses. And a nice tackle there by Kevin Cooley, lays it off. Donnie Tobin now settling the ball down for the Wichita Wings. Nice break there with Villa and Glavin and Bobby Bazada running for the St. Louis Steamers. Mike Dollar here in the third quarter has been equal to any occasion that St. Louis has presented him with. The keeper at 23 years old at 5'9", 160 pounds. Sammy Bick now with the ball for St. Louis at the Wichita third, off to our right. Dollar's there, dives off and makes an easy play right in front of Tony Glavin. Up to Mike Bowers, the St. Louis native. Play in the third quarter. Jorgen Christensen to put the ball in play for the Wichita Wings. Trying to go up to Kim Rentfeld. It's a little long. The ball goes all the way down to the St. Louis red line. Ty Keogh was there to make the play for St. Louis. Pushes it up. A nice pass to Sammy Bick. On a diagonal pass back to Keogh. Keogh now on the Wichita red line. Pushes up to Greg Villa. But right there, Wichita Wings there have been right on top of St. Louis tonight. Here comes Jorgen Christensen. Inside. And he's got the back. And he beats Slobo. Slobo came out to make the diving save. And another goal for the Wichita Wings. And they lead it now 6-1.
I'll tell you, this is getting eerie, Jim. The Wichita fans who are off to our left, and they are about 700 strong tonight, we understand. That they came from Wichita to see their Wings play, and boy, they are really getting a treat so far in this game tonight. Their Crazy George just started a chant, "We want a goal," and they started it at about the red line in front of Mike Dowler, and it was not, 5 seconds later that they're down there and Christensen gets the goal. I'll tell you, this is getting eerie.
Ty Keogh has the ball for the St. Louis Steamers over to Carl Rose. Into Keogh. Down low, Donnie Ebert at left wing. In the far corner, he's tackled off the ball. Kevin Cooley. Inside, Brian Tinian. A nice pass to Donnie Tobin. Tobin stilling the ball down at the far side. Tobin at right wing is marked up over there by Sammy Bick. He goes back to Kevin Cooley. Pushes it over to George Lay right in front of the St. Louis bench at the midfield third. 1:15 to play, third quarter, and Wichita has scored to get that lead back up to 5 goals. It's the Wings 6 and the Steamers 1. Here comes Keogh. The diagonal pass to Sammy Bick, working on the far side. Donnie Ebert, it's too long. Hank Leotard is there. And they go up to Donnie Tobin from Boyd Dollar. Wichita taking their time as they come through the midfield third. It's Kevin Cooley right in front of his own bench, and a run from the near boards to far boards. Now he goes back to Leotard, up to George Lay. Lay is tackled off the ball. Good defensive play, Carl Rose. Then he loses the ball to Donnie Tobin. Tobin at the St. Louis red line, pushes it over. The near side for Cooley. Cooley on the give and go with Tobin trying to work it. And Cooley pumps it up. Tobin is right there, right at the top of the box. And Slobo bounces it over with his right hand, just extending that right arm.
All season long that they can pull this one out, but it's going to take one big show in the fourth period for them to do it.
Another nice save by Slobo on the shot, the right-footed effort by George Lay. A handball by Tony Glavin. The St. Louis Steamers. C. Petcher. And Johnny Stremolo. Yilmaz Orhan. Johnny Stremolo has it at left wing with 10 seconds. Stremolo pumps it up. It's too long for Bobby Bazada in that crease area, and he's pushed away. Donnie Tobin making a play and pushes it all the way back out to the midline. Slobo comes out to help Bazada. Bazada settling it down. We had the interviews that we had earlier today on KMOX with Keith Gailing and the captain, Kevin Cooley, who pumped in a couple into the back in the first 15 minutes. He said the key to beating St. Louis is getting out to that early lead. Right. Because they're not going to be able to run with St. Louis. Well, you don't have to. Here comes Ty Keogh, however, as we kick off the fourth quarter. Mike Dollar, the hot keeper tonight for the Wichita Wings, dives out to make the play and then sends it back to Dudek. Dudek now is marked off the ball, practically marked off the ball, goes around Ty Keogh. Donnie Ebert is right there, and Dollar comes out to make the play. St. Louis sending They'll have to go all out, otherwise this will be the final 15 minutes of the year. Tony Glavine easily beating Dudek, and here comes the Steamers. They might have something going. Tony Glavine now. St. Louis going from right to left. Inside, Tony Glavine. His shot is off to the right. Carl Rose misses on the far post. And Donnie Ebert trying to chase the ball down against Dudek. Ty Keogh.
On to Mike Dowler. He couldn't put it in. Here is the goal.
Number 10, Ty Keogh. For Keogh, his second goal of the playoffs with the assist to number 2, Carl Rose. Keogh from Rose at 47 seconds.
So Glavine does the initial work, gets the ball down there, and then Rose and Keogh kind of team up to put that one in. Actually, Keogh kicked it from about, what would you say, Jim, about 40 feet or so from outside of the...
At least that, because it was...
he didn't really kick it that hard. It was just a fairly decent shot, and the darn thing went in. So now we're to 4 goals. Can they do it?
You're listening to Major Indoor Soccer League action on KMOX-FM in St. Louis. Jim Holder along with Nancy Drew. And a big crowd here at the Chuckerdome now beginning to come alive. However, it's the Wings still in control over the St. Louis Steamers at 6-2. We're 14 minutes to play in regulation time. Leotard going back to George Lay. Wichita here in the 4th quarter. They go from left to right to Slobo Yelievsky. Leotard marked up by Emilio Romero. Leotard dribbling through. A fine play. Wichita in their control game. This is the way they like to play. They have that lead. Couple of goals by Ty Keogh. Make this interesting. It's pushed down Bobby Bazata into the St. Louis third. Bobby Bazata there to make the play in front of Leotard. It goes up to Johnny Stremolo. St. Louis now going to try to get Wichita into their running game. And St. Louis can do that so well. They won the Central Division with a 25-15 record. Emilio Romero at left wing, trying to go around Leotard. He pumps, and it's just eased over 23 to play in regulation time. St. Louis needs a couple of goals in a hurry to keep this big crowd alive and with them. Nancy Drew had indicated about 700 fans came up from Wichita, and with that Crazy George and his drums down in the south end of the Chuckerdome tonight, he has kept those fans alive. And something is ball put back in play. Donnie Tobin trying to go in. Ty Keogh make the play at his own red line. Pushes it up to Slobo Yelievsky. Slobo goes to Ty Keogh against the far side. The midfielder, the 4-time All-American from St. Louis University, down low. Far side, Yilmaz Orhan. Orhan with an excellent opportunity. Emilio Romero was waiting for the ball right at the top. Ty Keogh hits it. Emilio Romero trying to ease it through. And Sammy Bick heads it over the end line to come out. But I think that Yilmaz would have had the better shot down low. Out to Donnie Tobin. So it goes down on the far side. Donnie Ebert is right there. There's Tony Glavine, and he scores from right at the top of the hot box. Glavine finds the back. And it's 6-3. Tony Glavine, a motorman. Donnie Ebert.
Number 22, Tony Glavine. For Glavine, his 5th goal of the playoffs with the assist to number 9, Don Ebert.
That's exactly right. And Tony Glavine really did have an excellent goal just then from Donnie Ebert. Glavine really has started to pump up, and he's had some shots on goal tonight. He finally gets one in.
Obstructions called against St. Louis. A couple of unanswered goals here in the 4th quarter. Leotard to put the ball in play. And now we got a problem over on the far side. The alternate jumped out of his position, and there is a circle around the penalty area where the go in, along with Helmut Dudek of the Wichita Wings.
Out into the 4th period, and both teams are...
Here comes Tony Glavine out for the St. Louis Steamers. Mike Dollar with a sensational tackle on Glavine as he broke off at left wing. And Dollar has really been the story for Wichita tonight, particularly here in the second half. Down low, it's Andy Chapman who has the goal tonight. Ty Keogh is on. St. Louis and the Wichita Wings now both playing with 4 attackers. Ty Keogh and Bobby Bazata on for the St. Louis Steamers, along with Petcher and Glavine. Steve Petcher trying to take the ball away from Tobin. Tobin lays right on top. There's Tony Glavine at left wing. Fakes one way, trying to go up on a couple of the Steamers, and holding is called against the St. Louis Steamers. And now a lot of debris that is thrown at Artie Wachner.
Oh,
Well, the big...
I can't believe it. They were walking along, kind of nudging each other, a little pushing each other.
I really think that they can run and keep this game going, but instead the fans are throwing all the junk out on the pitch, and it's slowing the game down.
Yeah, the fans don't realize it, but that's just really taking away from the contest. The Steamers want to keep it going. They've got some momentum going. They've scored 2 goals in the 4th period. They're back in this game, even though Wichita leads 6-3. We also mentioned that the 2 penalties to Dudek and Ebert were for unsportsmanlike conduct. The fans then showed a little bit of that, and it was unfortunate.
Tony Glavin right at the top of the box. He's losing the ball now, keeping it in. Brian Tinian. Boy, Mike Donner trying to knock the ball away. Keel trying to keep it in to Glavin. Glavin gets up off the pitch, is knocked down, and the ball is pushed all the way back to the midfield third. Here comes Slobodanski, the keeper. St. Louis has it up the neck. Slobo pushes it over to Ty Keel inside, and Tony trying to chip it in. Donner with a sensational save, and Steve Petcher trying to push it past. Mike Donner off to our left. All this action. The time, they'll find the back with Petcher. And Bobby Bazzata. Bobby Bazzata making an interception on the pass for Steve Earle right at the midfield line. Inside, Steve Petcher trying to make the play. He is tackled off the ball. And Kevin Cooley pushes up with a good pass. Inside, here come the Wichita Wings. Back is Bazzata. He misses on the far side on Brian Kim Rensved shot. Rensved now over the far side, selling the ball down. Back to Tobin. Inside is Jorgen Christensen in the St. Louis third. 16 seconds remain now penalties to Helmut Dudek and Donnie Ebert. Now Wichita, see, they like to slow this down, but the St. Louis Steamers, not their type of game. They would love to get Wichita back into a running game. Bobby Bazzata making the play. Over the far side, Fowler. The ball is pushed all back in, and the penalties have expired to both teams. Both teams at full strength. Here comes Donnie Ebert. He punches it with that right-footed effort. The keeper up to the midline for Jimmy Ryan. To Tobin. Tobin with a loaded effort, trying to hit Ryan. It's too long. And Johnny Stremolo settling the ball down. Yilmaz Orhan. And a right kick goes a little behind. Rose making the play for the St. Louis Steamers. Eddie Chapman is right there. Slobodan Yelievsky covering up, though, for St. Louis. St. Louis having some difficulty moving the ball out of their own third. Now they go up to Sammy Bick. Bick one time, it's left to Don Ebert. Ebert is marked up closely by Leotard. Into Sammy Bick. Over at left wing is Johnny Stremolo. Stremolo using the boards on the near side. It's punched out by good play by Leotard to Chapman, and Chapman sends a long kick over the end line. It'll be a goal kick for Slobodan Yelievsky. 9:45 to play. Regulation time in Wichita with the lead at 6-3.
Well, the Steamers have played this period like they really needed to play the first 3, which was a lot more aggressively because Wichita came out, took control of the game. They jumped on the board first and really started to walk away with it when they developed a 5-0 lead. The Steamers have gradually come back from that, but they've really got to hold the momentum, go after the Wings for the last 9 minutes and 45 seconds of this game.
So Yelievsky right to the kick. It's knocked away at the midline by Kevin Cooley right in front of the Wichita bench. Is Donnie Tobin to retrieve. He goes back to George Lay at the St. Louis red line or his own red line. George Lay right-footed effort for Chapman. It's intercepted by Carl Rose. Emilio Romero settling the ball down inside the Wichita red line. Off to our left to Carl Rose at the hot box to Greg Villa. Over the far corner against that touchline. He goes out to Ty Keel. He went right wing now. Fakes and goes, and Dollar is there. Ty Keel really pumped it up with that left foot. Knocked away, but Ty Keel was right there at the midline to make the play. But Donnie Tobin makes the play for the Wichita Wings. The handball is called against Wichita, and St. Louis quickly putting the ball in play. Emilio Romero dribbling into the Wichita third off to our left. Over at right wing is Emilio from Denver and Metro College. Emilio Romero, who had 44 goals in 1 year. Trying to go around now. He's tackled off the ball easily by George Lay. Too much dribbling, not enough passing. Here comes Lay. Lay pushes it up. Chapman, and it's knocked over the boards on the far side. It'll go back to the Wichita Wings. 8:42 to play. Regulation time. Wichita still in control at 6-3. St. Louis trying to break this thing open and get Wichita to play their type of game. On the other hand, you can bet that Roy Turner is telling his play, let's just slow it down. Let's keep this thing down. Kind of hard to keep the thing going, though, all the debris that's been thrown out on the pitch tonight, particularly in the early goings of this fourth quarter.
I think the fans are getting their money's worth. I think they're enjoying this evening. They came early and watched that first game between New York and Baltimore. Rooted for Baltimore the whole way, I have to tell you. But it didn't do any good because New York just really walked away with that one. 10-1. The Arrows will be here Sunday afternoon against We do not know which team.
Bobby Bazzata making a play, and Chapman. Bobby Bazzata with a run right up the middle, lays it off at left wing, down on the left side. Tony Glavin heads it in, and it's kicked out by Chapman with a good play. Chapman now going to Tobin. Back to Leotard. The Wichita Wings in no hurry. Up to the midline. To Mike Powers, and he has tackled off the ball. Johnny Stremolo. Tony Glavin now has it. In his half of the midfield 30. Now he crosses over the Wichita red line to Johnny Stremolo. A give and go. Stremolo and Glavin. Glavin now has it inside to Petcher. Petcher back to Glavin. It gets past him. In a break. Here comes Kim Renfed. Renfed coming in at right wing. He has one goal. Lays it off, and it's in the back. And a goal scored by Andy Chapman. A big goal for Wichita, and they lead St. Louis 7-3. A beautiful play. Chapman from Renfed. Kim Renfed took it down low on the right side, laid it up.
Well, that's the thing the St. Louis fans are used to seeing. The breakaway, the two players working on one, and instead they turned it around and did it to the Steamers. Renfed coming along the right-hand side of the board. One player back protecting Slobo Ilievsky. Renfed passes it right off to the left side of the goal to Andy Chapman, who just dunks it right in behind Slobo Ilievsky. And they're back leading 7-3 now. The 4-goal deficit for the Steamers. A very unfortunate break for St. Louis at this point, Jim.
St. Louis Steamers now kicking off. Carl Rose trying to hit Ty Keel. Right in front of the St. Louis bench on the near side. Ty Keel, right-footed effort down low. It's headed out, and Greg Villa hits it, and it goes way over the end. Instead of using a nice little touch there, Greg a little anxious. Signs very quickly. Ty Keel to put the ball in play for the Steamers from the corner kick. Out to the top of the hot box, but it's intercepted there. Andy Chapman, who has a couple of goals tonight, just scored the 7 for Wichita, which could have been the backbreaker. Carl Rose quickly putting the ball in play, goes into Sammy Bick to Villa. Villa can't get control, but Brentford does for the Wichita Wings to Dudek. Dudek up to Tobin. Tobin loses the ball. Sends it back to Dudek. Dudek at the red line, loses the ball. Greg Villa has it, pushes up to Yilmaz Orhan. Greg trying to set up Yilmaz, but he wasn't breaking through the crease. And Donald has it for the Wichita Wings. Overhand right-handed toss. A nice toss outside to Kim Renfed with Slobo Ilievsky. Dangerous play called on Slobo Ilievsky and the Steamers. It'll be a direct free kick just inside the St. Louis red line off to our right. 7:14 to play here in the fourth quarter. And the Wichita Wings looking for a possible shot at the New York Arrows for the MSL title. On back to Jorgen Christensen. Left-footed effort inside of Chapman. They go to Powers. Powers, the St. Louis native, pumps it over the back. It'll be a goal kick for Slobo Ilievsky. They have to give credit to the Wichita Wings when that flurry in the early goings here of the fourth quarter, Nancy Drew, they really kept it pretty much under control.
Yeah, starting from the very first point of the game when they got control early, got out in front of the Steamers, and have made the Steamers more or less have to come after them, which the Steamers really haven't done until the fourth period. And Wichita was allowed to play their game. The Steamers couldn't get into their type of running game, and so it has been all Wichita, except for 3 goals, a couple by Ty Keel and 1 by Tony Glavin.
Wichita misses on the far side. Slobo was out of goal, and Carl Rose making a play for the Steamers against the Fire. Holding is called against the Wichita Wings. Carl Rose to put the ball in play quickly for the Steamers. They need some time, and they need 4 goals to tie. They're down 7-3. 6:40 to play in regulation time. Sammy Bick tackle off the ball by Kevin Keeley over the far side. Donnie Ebert can't get control. Donnie Tobin does and pushes it up to Brian Tinian. Tinian then pushes it over to the near side for George Lay. Lay running with the ball right past his buddies and Wichita Wings bench, and now retreats back to the midfield third for Kevin Keeley. Keeley to Hank Leotard. Leotard with a right-footed effort for Keeley. It's too long, and Johnny Stremolo in control for St. Louis. Over in the far corner to Carl Rose. Rose will push it up to Slobo Ilievsky. Slobo once it comes up, he draws it hard as over both red lines, constituting a 2-line violation. Offside called against the St. Louis Steamers on the effort by Slobo Ilievsky. It'll be an indirect free kick at the St. Louis red line off to our right. Just over 6 minutes to play. Wichita 7 and the Steamers 3. Kevin Keeley, who has a couple of goals tonight, goes down to Renfed. Renfed to Donnie Tobin at right wing, trying to go around Carl Rose. He is tripped, but the referee, Artie Wachner, says, let's continue to play. Bobby Bazata and Donnie Ebert. Holding call against Tobin on Donnie Ebert. Ebert to put the ball down and quickly back to Slova Yelieski. One times it over to Bobby Bazata. Here comes Bazata now with a diagonal run to the midfield third. Back over to the far side for Tony Glavin, who uses the boards to retrieve the ball. Tony Glavin to Steve Petcher. Inside the Wichita red line off to our left. Back to Ty Keogh. Keogh has a couple of goals tonight. Glavin the other, St. Louis Straley. Keogh pumps it up and it's pushed off, and George Lay uses the boards to the far side to try to bring it up, and Bobby Bazata's there to Steve Petcher. Top of the hot box, right side, Steve Petcher trying to use the boards to clear it out. Donnie Ebert wasn't there, and Slova Yelieski hustling, coming out of goal, pushing it up to Bobby Bazata. He goes down low, the goal is scored by Steve Petcher, and it's 7-4 at 5:18. And Steve Petcher looks up at the Wichita fans.
But Slobo and his buddies brought it back down into the zone by Dowler. And then it was Bazata coming in on the goal, and it went in off Petcher.
Number 4, Steve Petcher. For Petcher, his first goal
in regulation time. Renfed pushes over the far side for Lay. Lay to Kevin Keeley. To Leotard. He goes back to his fine keeper, Mike Dowler. What a game he's had tonight. It's intercepted at midfield third by Greg Villa. Villa was the leading scorer for St. Louis in the series. Here comes Villa trying to plow his way through. Ty Keogh ripped our touchline. Kevin Keeley. George Lay to Mike Dowler. Mike Dowler now goes back to Lay. Mike Dowler, the keeper. Wichita with the lead at 7-3. It's intercepted at the St. Louis red line. Ty Keogh. He pumps and finds the back of the net. And it's 7-5. And the hat trick for Ty.
with the assist to number 11, Yilmaz Orhan.
The Wichita Wings have called.
Goals to Wichita's 1. Now, if they can keep it up for another 4.5 minutes, they might wind up in an overtime game or getting up there with Wichita.
Andy Chapman making a play. Slova Yelieski sliding way out, and Andy Chapman keeping the ball in play for the Wichita Wings. Now lays it off on the far side for Leotard. Leotard retreats back to his red line. He's marked up closely by Johnny Stremel. The ball loose in the midfield third, but it's too long for the motorman, Tony Glavin. Donnie Ebert intercepts the pass, and he pops and he misses on the far side. Donnie Ebert with a great tackle at the midline. Stole the ball, took it away from Kim Renfed. Bobby Bazata goes up to Johnny Stremel, goes over his head and down low in the far corner. Quickly, Dudek tries to push it out at the midline. Carl Rose taking the ball away from Andy Chapman. Carl Rose, we're down inside 4 minutes. 3:51 to play. Carl Rose pumps it up, misses inside, and it just goes through the crease area. Tony Glavin over to make the play on Mike Powers, but he pushes it over to Dudek. Dudek goes back to Mike Dollar, and Dollar pushes it up to Dudek. Here comes Dudek now, trying to run through the midfield third. Carl Rose is there to make the play at the midfield line, and took the ball away. Donnie Ebert, who's all over the pitch here, trying to make the play on Elmet Dudek. Dudek from Dollar. Dollar over to Dudek. Dudek's pass is intercepted. Bobby Bazata has it. Inside. We go to Donnie Ebert. Ebert misses. Dollar, the keeper for Wichita, is having some problems and is still down. Pump it up, and Tony Glavin coming in. And Brad Higgs, who is the keeper now with a right-handed toss, goes out to Donnie Tobin. They go up in the inside, and it's knocked over the boards almost, but it's kept in play. Brian Tinian. Sammy Beck to Ty Keogh, to Yilmaz Orhan. St. Louis trails by 2 goals. Here comes Yilmaz Orhan, dribbling off into the Wichita third. He punted a goal and scored off of George Lay, and it's 7-6. Yilmaz Orhan will have to give an assist to George Lay. We got quite a game now. 2 minutes and 44 seconds to play. Now 7, and the Steamers 6, and the crowd here at the Tuckerdome, well, they're on their feet. They think the Steamers can get right back in it.
These fans at the Tuckerdome are just going crazy. They can't believe it. We've had goals by Keogh, Glavin, Petcher, Keogh again, and he got the hat trick on the second one in the fourth period. And now the Orhan goal on Brad Higgs, who replaced Mike Dowler right after the injury.
Kevin Keeley losing the ball to Yilmaz Orhan. Slova Yelieski quickly out to retrieve. Up to Johnny Stremelo to Carl Rose. Here come the St. Louis Steamers through the midfield third. They got Wichita playing their game. Here comes Bobby Bazata pushing it around. And Higgs and Leotard make a nice save over the far side. The ball loose in the midfield third. Wichita trying to get control. They push it back. Tinian goes deep to Higgs. Control now. I think they're going to get the tire. We're down to 2 minutes. St. Louis trailing 7-6. Carl Rose to Johnny Stromino. And a long arching kick by Wichita. And it goes down to Sloboyelievsky. There was an open net. Here comes Slobo pushing it up. St. Louis needs a goal here at 1:46. The tie. Bobby Bazzata with a run along the far board. The crowd going crazier. Tony Glavin right at the top of the box. Lays it off for Bazzata. Bazzata one times it back to Glavin, but Tobin comes up to make a nice play for the Wichita Wings and sends it to Carl Rose. He steps right on the end line. Carl Rose for the St. Louis Steamers saves a goal. Hustling back is Sloboyelievsky. St. Louis with 6 attackers. 1:20 to play. Here comes Ty Keel. He cranks. Higgs makes a nice play. Ball loose in the midfield third is pushed back out. And over the end, 7-6. Now we're down to 1:13. Ty Keel goes into Donnie Ebert. And the Steve Putcher misses. And they scored. Donnie Ebert has tied the game. Ebert heads it in from just that near post. And we are tied at 7 with 1:09 to play. Well, now the fans are really alive. A great flurry by the Steamers. So we'll kick it off at the midline. And St. Louis has Ty Keel, Tony Glavin, and Donnie Ebert on, and Steve Putcher and Sammy Beck. All-star defender Mr. Silk, Tony Bellinger, has not played here since. And play is back in as Wichita kicks off. They send it back to George Lay. And they go up, and we are tied at 7. We're down to 1 minute to play. The ball loose in the midfield third. 1 minute to play. Tinian trying to settle it down in Rentford for the Wichita Wings. Rentford lays it off on the far side. And Chapman goes down to Rentford. Sloboyelievsky sliding out to make a sensational tackle. Ty Keel to Tony Glavin. Donnie Ebert. We got a 2-on-1 break. Tony Glavin settling it down at left wing. He is in the Wichita third, dribbling around, trying to go inside to Donnie Ebert. It's pushed down with a great play by Wichita. Ty Keel has it in the Sammy Bick. Sammy Bick goes down to Donnie Ebert, who has just scored the tying goal. 30 seconds to play. But here comes the Wichita Wings. They're running now. They're running with the Steamers. And it's Leotard. Leotard misses on the tackle. Emilio Romero trying to make the play. Ty Keel, Steve Putcher. They make the play, trying to keep it in. We got a break. Here comes Emilio Romero. A 2-on-1. Romero hits it. And Brad Higgs makes the play. Brad Higgs made a sensational play as St. Louis had the break. We're down to 2 seconds. 1 second. There's the buzzer.
71. St. Louis has outshot Wichita 71-47 in this game. Now, earlier, when the Wings were leading by quite a bit, St. Louis has still outshot them about 50-41. And so you got to say the shots on goal don't mean that much, but in the fourth period, they really did.
Well, the teams are ready to kick off this fifth quarter. It's sudden death at the Checker Dome in the semifinal, the MISL semifinal. Wichita going from left to right. The ball loose down in the midfield third, and an obstruction is called against Wichita to put the ball in play. We are in sudden death. A shot on goal. It misses on the far side, and being trapped down by Kevin Cooley, the captain of Wichita Wings. Chapman has it, and it's pushed out by Ty Keel all the way back to the midfield third. Dudek goes inside, right at the top of the hot box for Chapman. And an obstruction was caused. The midfielder is Ty Keel. They go up to Yilmaz Orhad, back to Carl Rose. St. Louis here in sudden death. They go from right to left towards the keeper, Brad Higgs, who replaced Mike Dollar, who was injured with 3 minutes to go in regulation time. Yilmaz Orhad loses the ball to Dudek. Dudek coming across the St. Louis red line, up to our right. Now retreats back to the midfield third. To Leotard. Leotard lays it over on the far side for Donnie Tobin. Tobin stepping on the ball right at the St. Louis red line. He goes back to Leotard. Hank Leotard has had an excellent game tonight, but he loses the ball on the far side. Steve Petcher made the play against the far boards. Was going to try to hit Glavin on the break. Leotard now setting the ball down, and he will push it up through the midfield third. Here comes Chapman. Chapman, that right wing in the St. Louis third. He has a couple of goals tonight for the Wings. We are tied at 7 in sudden death, and
right now,
Sloboyelievsky coming out with a nice distribution. Tied at 7. Placed Mike Dollar, who was injured with 3 minutes to go in regulation time. Yilmaz Orhad loses the ball to Dudek. Dudek coming across the St. Louis red line off to our right. Now retreats back to the midfield third. to Leotard. Leotard lays it over on the far side for Donnie Tobin. Tobin stepping on the ball right at the St. Louis red line. He goes back to Leotard. Hank Leotard has had an excellent game tonight, but he loses the ball on the far side. Steve Petcher made the play against the far boards. Was going to try to hit Glavin on the break. Leotard now settling the ball down, and he will push it up through the midfield third. Here comes Chapman. Chapman at right wing in the St. Louis third. He has a couple of goals tonight for the Wings. We are tied at 7 in sudden death, and
right now,
Slobod Yalievsky coming out with a nice distribution, tied at 7, and we are in sudden death at the Checkerdome. Sammy Bick with a nice tackle on Leotard. Took the ball away. Here comes Sammy Bick running through, and he lost the ball to George Lay. Johnny Stremolo keeps it in. Greg Villa, the St. Louis native, has it at right wing, going from near boards, from far boards to near boards to Johnny Stremolo. Give and go. Johnny Stremolo can't make the play, and Powers does and pushes it out. And Jorgen Christensen inside to Jimmy Ryan, and Ryan chips it up over the end line. He tried to chip it in, and he would have had Slobo beat at near post. And said he took it over the end line, so it's a goal kick for Slobod Yalievsky. 13-21 to home. New York won the first game handily over Baltimore, 10-1. Greg Villa heading the ball over to Ty Keel on the far side. Ty Keel something up, but Wichita taking the ball away with Kim Rentford, who has had an excellent game tonight for Roy Turner. Here comes Rentford running through. He has the goal tonight. He cranks it and just misses, and it comes out, and Carl Rose making the play, coming all the way back out to the midfield third. Kim Rentford is dangerous when he has that ball for the Wings. Jimmy Ryan settling the ball down at the St. Louis headline. He goes back out to George Lay. They try to go inside to Christensen, and Villa has it out for St. Louis, and we go the other way. And Villa is tackled off the ball, and a nice goes down low quickly. On a give and go to Villa. Villa pops it, and it's knocked away by Powers, and it's loose, and Powers heads it out, coming across his own red line through the midline. Favors in the fourth quarter. They were down after 45 minutes, 6-1, but goals by Keogh, Glavin, Petcher, Keogh again, and Orhanity. The ball in play now. Knocked away, a good defensive play by Ty Keel. The man always on the spot. Donnie Tobin to Powers. Powers to Ryan. Ryan in the St. Louis third at right wing, trying to go in on. He has a shot, and it misses on the far side. It circles out. Jorgen Christensen goes into Ryan. Ryan at left wing. Tackle off the ball by Glavin. Back to Jorgen Christensen, dribbling in beautifully, and Carl Rose and Tony Glavin make the play. Here comes Glavin, dribbling through the midfield third, trying to go under and through Kim Rentford, but Mike Powers is there for the Wichita Wings, the St. Louis native. And Brad Higgs, the keeper, who replaced Mike Dollar, pushes it out. Here comes Yilmaz Orhan. He pops and misses on the far side, but Tony Glavin will run the ball down on the far side and lay it off for Johnny Stremolo. St. Louis to the Wichita third, laying it down low, but Brad Higgs is there and covers up nicely before Tony Glavin can race through that crease. Sudden death. Whoever scores will meet the New York Arrows in the championship on Sunday. Wichita now. They're playing more like St. Louis. Jorgen Christensen trying to run through. He's at the top of the box. Landed off for Chapman. And Slobo makes the save, but a handball is called right outside the penalty area. Wow. A close play and an excellent call by Artie Wachner, the referee tonight.
Oh, that was a hard stop.
Direct free
Getting
kick.
a hand on that. Woo!
Jorgen Christensen to pump it up, Nancy, just outside that penalty area. He's about 2 feet outside that penalty area. He'll hit it with the left foot. Direct free kick, tries to lay it over the top. And a beautiful play by Sammy Bick. Sammy Bick trying to push it up and was held. It's a direct free kick for the St. Louis Steamers at their own red line. Sammy Bick to Carl Rose, the two defenders. Inside to Yilmaz Orhan. Yilmaz begging for that ball at the midfield third. Sammy Bick, Carl Rose pumps it, and it goes high over the end line. And Baltimore lost to the two-time defending champion, New York Arrows, 10-1. Ball out to Chapman at the midfield third for Wichita. Here in the overtime period, they go from left to right towards Slobod Yalievsky. Ball loose, and Steve Petcher goes right to put the ball in play, and they're half of the midfield line, a couple of feet away from the midfield line. Steve Petcher and Bobby Bazzata on along with Ty Keel. Down low, Emilio Romero and Donnie Ebert. Outside, a good defensive play by Kevin Cooley. He goes to Chapman. Chapman on the break to Kevin Cooley, who has a couple of goals. Ty Keel is right there marking up closely on Cooley. And Slobod Yalievsky makes the play, and then goes out to Emilio Romero. His pass is too long. Dudek making a play for Wichita along the far boards. Bobby Bazzata trying to make the sliding tackle. Dudek still has the ball, sends it into Cooley. Cooley back to Dudek, and it's knocked away. Chapman tries to come up, and Steve Petcher sacrifices his body and throws himself at the ball. It's knocked over against the far boards. We are tied at 7 in sudden death. Jim Holer and Nancy Drew bringing you the action on KMOX FM in St. Louis. The ball loose in the far corner. Slobodan Yelieski with a right-footed kick, trying to keep it in. And Kevin Cooley has it. He punted it. Steve Petcher with a nice tackle all the way out to the midline to Donnie Ebert. He lays it off to Keel. Here comes Keel, dribbling through the midfield third. Steps over the ball one way, fakes one way. A nice defensive play by Donnie Tobin. And then Cooley pushes it all the way out to the midfield third, and Wichita has the break. A 2-on-1 break. Kevin Cooley. Steve Petcher makes the play. Bobby Buzzata back to help out Petch. And here comes Petch from his own red line. Up to Emilio Romero. Believe me, folks, there's a lot of space now out there as the teams begin to wear down a little bit. Andy Chapman for Wichita. Lays it off over in the far boards in the midfield third for Donnie Tobin. Tobin settling it down as he comes across the St. Louis red line. Now he goes back to the mid. Dudak to Tobin, back to Dudak. Dudak against the far boards, right in front of the penalty bench. Down low, Kevin Cooley. Bobby Buzzata's there and pushes it up to Steve Petcher. Petcher now with a long kick. It goes over. It's headed over by Leotard to Yilmaz Orhan. He can shoot from there. And a nice tackle made on the ball. Yilmaz Orhan was right at left wing, but Dudak was there to make the great play for the Wings. We go the other way towards Slobodan Yelieski. The Wichita Wings taking their time now. Play slowing down just a bit as we are in sudden death. If we go through a scoreless sudden death, we go into a shootout. The ball loose, and it just is received by a fan as it goes over the plexiglass down in front of Johnny Stremolo to Carl Rose, over to Sammy Bick in the midfield third. The organist cranking up that music, and the fans right behind him as St. Louis has battled back, and we are tied at 7 in sudden death. Sammy Bick goes up to Carl Rose, to the motorman, Tony Glavin. Glavin can go. He scoots down low on the right side. Johnny Stremolo has it. Give it go to Yilmaz Orhan. He cranks it a little too soon.
The ball down by Slobodan Yelieski and not giving the Steamers much of a chance to go to their backup goalie, Higgs.
Mike Powers to Jimmy Ryan. Jimmy Ryan, the all-star, the veteran, who's played both the indoors and the outdoors, pushes over to the far side to Dudek, and he loses the ball, and St. Louis' Carl Rose is right there, another all-star. He takes the ball away from Jorgen Christensen, goes up to Yilmaz Orhan, and referee says, let's play, but it's a little too long, and George Lay retrieves deep in his own third. Wichita going from left to right to Slovenia. Still tied at 2. Jorgen Christensen loses the ball. Yilmaz Orhan goes to Tony Glavin to Yilmaz on a nice pass. Down low, here comes Steve Petcher in the right wing. He's got a break on the far side. He pumps it and misses on the far side. The ball circles around, though. Yilmaz Orhan has it. He is tackled off the ball. A good defensive play. Bobby Buzzata now in a good transition by St. Louis. Brad Higgs making a nice play coming out. Bobby Buzzata to Jimmy Ryan, who makes the play. To Ty Keogh, settling it down for St. Louis at the midline. Up to Steve Petcher. Petcher now inside, and Wichita showing great defense. Slobodan Yelieski coming out almost to his own red line. They quickly go up to Tony Glavin. Glavin now inside. It's into Greg Villa. Greg Villa trying to use the boards and set something up in the crease. Tony Glavin trying to settle the ball down in the far corner. Sends it back to Villa. Villa cranks it up and misses on the far side. And the ball circles around the boards and comes over. Steve Petcher still in control. But then Donnie Tobin one-times it over to Jimmy Ryan. We got a break here. It's a 2-on-1 break. Christensen and Ryan. Ryan pumps it. And Slobo makes a beautiful save. And sends it all the way back to the midfield third. Tony Glavin is there. And an obstruction is called from behind here in sudden death. It's St. Louis 7 and the Wichita Wings 7. The winner will advance to play the New York Arrows at 1 o'clock on Sunday afternoon here at the Checkerdome. Steve Petcher heading the ball back to Greg Villa. Villa now trying to settle it down in his own third up against the boards on the near side. Marked up by Kim Renfed. Renfed now back across the St. Louis red line, back to the midfield third over the far side. Kevin Cooley. Kevin Cooley in the corner. Marked up closely by Steve Petcher, that man-to-man defense. Jimmy Ryan one-times it. All the way back to the midfield third to Renfed. Renfed with a nice play moving around Greg Villa. Greg Villa over the far side. George Lay back to Kim Renfed. Renfed on a one-time back to Renfed. Renfed now coming over the top of the hot box. He's in the St. Louis third. Jorgen Christensen, who led the entire MISL with 52 assists. Taking the ball down. A shot at right side is knocked away. And Slobodan Yelieski, and it bounces over Ryan's head and comes out against the near boards. Wichita. Kim Renfed is marked up closely by Yilmaz Orhan to Jimmy Ryan at right wing. Wichita Wing 7. Bobby Buzzata and Tony Glavin combining on the seal. Bobby Buzzata right puts it up to Yilmaz Orhan, who's off into the Wichita third off to our left. Yilmaz at the top of the box. He can go either way. A nice tackle by Kim Renfed. Pushes it up to Cooley. Cooley to Jorgen Christensen. And they've got a break again. We go the other way. Christensen now marked up closely on the far side by Johnny Stremolo. Stremolo with a nice tackle. He sends it up to Glavin. Glavin to Yilmaz Orhan. St. Louis has a break at 3-2. And Tony Glavin inside, but Brad Higgs comes out to make the play. He hasn't been, he's settled down a little bit after St. Louis was able to put 2 behind late in the fourth quarter to tie this game. Steve Petcher pushes the ball up into the Wichita third off to our left. And Donnie Tobin making the play. For Wichita, they go from left to right towards Sloboyelieski. Sudden death at the Checkerdome. The Steamers and Wichita all tied at 7. Donnie Tobin trying to go around Sloboyelieski. And Jeff Sendobri making his first appearance on the pitch tonight. Here comes Sammy Beck with a great transition running through the midfield third. He runs right over the top of 2 Wichita wings on the far side, and referee Artie Wachner is letting him play. Greg Villas sends it back to Sendobri, who sudden death. St. Louis and Wichita tied at 7. Brad Higgs, the backup keeper, he replaced Mike Dollar, who went out with 3 minutes to play in the fourth quarter when there was a collision between Donnie Ebert and Mike Dollar, and Dollar's right knee looked like a bowling ball by the time they got him over into the Wichita box right down in front of us. Major Indoor Soccer League action on KMOX-FM in St. Louis, Missouri. Here comes Mike Powers. Mike Powers tries the one-time at Sloboyelieski. Great game tonight for Roy Turner in the wing. To put the ball in play, he is marked up closely by Donnie Ebert. Down low for Donnie Tobin. Sloboyelieski comes out to make the play, and a nice pass for Donnie Ebert right down the middle of the pipe. But right there to make the play is Leotard and Dudak. Dudak over to Donnie Tobin. Tobin trying to circle around on the far side. The ball is loose, and Powers hits it. And Slobo just got his right. Corner kick for the Wichita Wings off to the left of Sloboyelieski. We're tied at 7 in sudden death.
You could not ask for any.
KMOX-FM in St. Louis. Jorgen Pettersson over to the top of the, or Steve Petcher making a play for St. Louis. Out to his own red line. And Andy Chapman, who's got a couple of goals. Helmut Dudek to put the ball in play. Left puts it down low. To Christensen. Christensen circling around inside. Bobby Bizzetta trying to push it out with that left foot. It doesn't get out all the way. Andy Chapman. Down low, Kevin Cooley into Chapman. But Johnny Stremolo was right there in the crease to push it out. Inside, Kim Renfett. Renfett at left wing, still deep and dangerous in St. Louis zone. And inside, and Steve Petcher made a sensational play on Chapman. But Renfett again keeping it into Kevin Cooley. Wichita has a flurry like you've never seen on a St. Louis defense. Now, finally, Sloboyelieski is able to make the play. Push it back to Johnny Stremolo. Stremolo goes to Slobo, and Wichita marking up. Over a nice pass from Stremolo to Steve Petcher. Over to near boards. It's Tony Glavin and St. Louis to Yilmaz Orhan. Yilmaz coming in. He misses on the far board. The ball circles around over the far side. It's Cooley. He pushes all the way up, but there's Steve Petcher for the St. Louis Steamers. Steve Petcher pushing it into Yilmaz Orhan to Tony Glavin, but Higgs covers up. Brad Higgs, overhand toss, right side to Jorgen Christensen, right in front of the Wichita bench. He goes from left to right, lays it off to Kevin Cooley, and Johnny Stremolo is there. Cooley still in control, but a whistle was called against the Wichita Wings on Cooley. A handball was called, or pushing off, and St. Louis to put the ball in play deep in their own territory, off to our right with an indirect free kick. Most of the fans here, some 16,200 plus, are on their feet. They can't believe this action. We're inside, 3 minutes to play in sudden death. It's St. Louis 7 and Wichita 7. Yilmaz Orhan has the ball, coming across the midline, trying to go down low to Glavin, but good defense by Wichita, and Brad Duick, Helmut Dudek, I should say, makes the play and settling the ball down. Now it goes off to Jorgen Christensen, coming across into Mike Powers, the University City natives, lays it off, and beautiful tackle by Jeff Sendobri. On Powers, he pops it up. Sloboyelieski making the play on the left side and sends it back to Jeff Sendobri. Sendobri goes to Tony Glavin. Tony Glavin, right puts it down low. Nice play by Villa, and he misses at the far post. The ball circles around. There's Jeff Sendobri, though. He wears a cast very similar to Tony Bellinger, who is no longer in the game tonight for the St. Louis Steamers. An injury forced him out early in the fourth quarter. Tony Glavin to Ty Keel. Jeff Sendobri trying to go past Helmut Dudek, and Dudek goes down to Diggs. Diggs sends it out at the midfield line, and is tackled away by Ty Keel. Goes back to Dudek. I don't think Dudek has been off the pitch here in the fourth quarter. Down low, Jorgen Christensen. He's dangerous. Leaves it off for Ryan. And a beautiful tackle by Sammy Beck on Jimmy Ryan. Ryan goes over to the far side at left wing. All this action in the St. Louis third. Dudek now sends it all the way back out to the midline. It's Kim Rundfeld. Down to 130. Ladies and gentlemen, we will go into the shootout if we are scoreless in this sudden death. And there's only a minute. Jeff Sandobri making a good play. It's out to Tony Glavin. Glavin to Sandobri. Into Greg Villa. Looks like a steamroller. Here comes Greg Villa. Villa might have a break at left wing. Greg Villa setting the ball down, sends it down, and Higgs dives back to make the play. A great play by Brad Higgs, who was almost out of position. He sends it over on the far board. Here comes Wichita down to 1 minute to play in sudden death. And Wichita has the ball in St. Louis territory. Jorgen Christensen loses the ball to Tony Glavin. 1 minute. Here comes Glavin and Donnie Ebert. St. Louis's two leading scorers. Down low to Donnie Ebert. Using the boards on the far side, trying to settle it down. He's losing it now as it comes out to his own red line. A nice sweeping tackle by Kevin Cooley on the far side. But Jimmy Ryan to Sammy Beck. On a give and go, Sammy Beck is ready to Tony Glavin. Brad Higgs makes a nice play on Tony Glavin just in front of him. 30 seconds to play. Sudden death. We're about to go into a shootout just right in front of the Wichita bench. Ty Kiel with a left-footed effort decides to go back to Slobey Yelievsky. We're down inside 30 seconds, and we are tied at 7. We are about ready to see another shootout, ladies and gentlemen. St. Louis was in 1 this year, and they won it up in Chicago. Bobby Vazada losing the ball. Jorgen Christensen to Jimmy Ryan. Here comes Christensen. He misses him. Joran misses it. Jimmy Ryan has it 2 times. It's Steve Petcher with a nice tackle. Slides the ball out to Ty Kiel. Up to Yilmaz Orhan. 5 seconds to play. Yilmaz Orhan pushes it up to Don Ebert. Ebert sets it off to Yilmaz Orhan, and he is pushed down. He is pushed down in the penalty area.
Into the regular MI. But if he had thought it had been necessitating a penalty kick, Walker would have called it. But, you know, that's something that they've called so rarely. So rarely have we seen, you know, only a few penalty kicks all year long. It's just something that's such a severe penalty that you don't want to call it too often. I think Walker, I'll second your line right now.
Andy Chapman coming in. Silva coming out to make the play, and it's a goal for the Wichita. Into the checker dome. Here comes Yilmaz pushing it right at the top of the box, goes around, and Higgs makes a nice play, and a goal missed. It missed at the far. Coming out for Roy Turner. Chapman scored first. Hold on, he's got 5 seconds. He's coming in right at the top of the box. Fakes left, breaks right, and goes in and missed. It hit the near post, and Slovo was down in opposition, and it came away. What a break for Slovo and the Steamers. So, 0 for 1. We'll wait and see who Pat McBride will send out next. And it's Tony Glavin coming out for the St. Louis Steamers. The Motorman. Here comes Tony, 5 seconds on the clock. Here comes Tony. He hits the back of the net. And St. Louis now 1 for 2, and Wichita 1 for 2 in this MISL.
We're tied at 1 in the shootout. Glavin for the Steamers, putting one by Brad Higgs. It was Andy.
Leotard is the third man for Coach Roy Turner. Leotard coming in at the top of the box, and he misses off to the left. And so from the fan, who had 3 goals tonight. Ty Kiel will face Brad. And Ty Kiel makes a fake and finds the back of the net. Finds the back of the net, and St. Louis is 2 for 3. And Wichita, Kim Rundfeld, who Nancy had pointed out numerous times during the broadcast, had a sensational. Here comes Kim Rundfeld. Wichita 1 for 3. Rundfeld coming in. He pops and misses. And they are. Leotard missed. And Emilio John dribbling in slowly. Takes and makes a nice move. And it's for Brad Higgs now to be in. He has already faced 3. And E.J. gets the penalty kick. Where the ball is placed at the penalty kick dot, which is only 24. The ball at the penalty kick area. E.J. is all set. He approaches the ball. He hits it. Hits in the back. Hits St. Louis win. They're in the championship for Wichita. Down in the net.